Good afternoon. My name is Siim, and very glad to join you, even though from afar. Well, I'll be talking about a very cool topic, how to use AI in governments. And this is really because of my own background. I hail from Estonia. I used to work in Estonian government for a number of years, and we really kickstarted AI use in our government. And that has given us sort of good lessons in a sense of what to do and how to get started. And these days, look, obviously, AI is reaching governments all over the world, so it's becoming a hotter and hotter topic. I will share my slides, and then we're good to get going. So, public sector and AI. Well, in many ways, look, we can talk about the same thing everywhere. Like public sector is no different beast in that sense when it comes to AI uptake. But first of all, perhaps just two words in the sense of what I hail from. So I already said I worked in the Estonian government. These days, I'm a managing partner in Digital Nation, and we work with governments and government leaders around the world, helping them to build up future-ready digital societies, basically build the next digital governments and be even better than Estonia. And this really gives me assurance to say, look, what we were talking about here also resonates more widely. It really comes from a wider background than just Estonia's experience, although Estonia quickly became a front runner in this field of public sector AI. But let's get going. So I guess the core message and what we've really seen through practice in Estonia and elsewhere is that AI can really make government better. And that is why we started adopting it in Estonia as well, and I'll come back to that. But what does it mean to make government better? Well, look, AI can really contribute, and we'll go through the cases and examples of that, to improving government in all fronts of government. For example, AI can greatly make services better, and public service delivery is, the heart of government in many ways. So what does that mean? Or, how, for example, I mean, at one extreme, you take a simple example like chatbots. Early chatbots weren't that wise. These days, they're getting pretty smart with the help of AI. Chatbots can really just, streamline and make public services more accessible. I mean, the extreme example I do have is how we started using chatbots during COVID response and COVID crisis. Well, literally, the problem we had to solve for was a very quick need and very large need of precise information about what is happening, what are the restrictions, what's the policy in place. So clearly no call center was able to handle this, or there was not efficient to have, I don't know, tens of people responding to phones. So we quickly put to use and use machine learning to train a chatbot, and that just on the website, in an app and so forth, was able to give information to say, hey, so look, what restrictions currently apply, for example. So the service here was to say that, hey, government was basically providing better information, and at the same time, was being more sort of resilient and more sort of faster and accessible in terms of understanding what services are out there for me to use, all the way to how to get grants for closing my company. Or another example of better services, a lot of potential of AI in public service comes from really being able to detect patterns in data, and through that offer more personalized services as an outcome of that. For example, what the Estonian Unemployment Insurance Fund has done is that, with the help of machine learning again, has tried to identify each individuals that they have to serve. So they were working with unemployed people. They figure out their employment pattern, they figure out from that their long-term unemployment risk, and they're able to cater their unemployment support services, trainings and things, job placements like that, more personalized than ever was possible, and with a better success rate than was ever possible. So basically, success rate here means that, for example, if you offer people a placement, a job placement, how long do they stick in this job? So even seasoned human consultants don't have the success rate that machines do now. So basically, better services, better unemployment services with the help of smart machines. Another example, or another sort of core part of government besides service delivery, is making decisions, policy choices, policy decisions. And a lot of power of AI really comes from detection of patterns otherwise invisible or unknown or unthinkable for the human eye and brain. So whether it's the detection of problems to solve, whether it's trying to predict and model the outcomes of policies, whether it's the issues of evaluating in retrospect the impact of policies. I mean, there's a whole range of things to be done. For example, this is how in Netherlands you started to solve renting problem better by finding out where people actually lived, or this is how in tax offices around the world you're using AI tools now to detect fraud, and through that make better sort of decisions in a sense of like what's the right sort of tax rates, or even more specifically provide a better sort of tax fraud detection, and through that have better decisions about sort of which companies to audit and which not, which in return, by the way, means better service for those who don't have to be audited unnecessarily. And a simple example I have here is also from Estonia. One of the most successful AI use cases we had was about trying to make better decisions in agriculture inspections and agriculture grant and subsidies field and the relevant agency, in a sense of which beneficiaries better to audit and inspect. So basically, which plots need extra attention. So previously, they had to send blindly inspectors out there. Now they train the machines from satellite data and imagery to understand and to basically raise flags in terms of which farmers may not be using their subsidies in the proper way, and thus inspections were more targeted. Thus, that means that in the whole decision making behind that became better and smarter. And you get examples of that in terms of policing being predictive, a bit not in a sense of profiling, but really in a sense, for example, of where to send up the traffic patrols, where there might be congestion coming, things like that. These better policies, better decisions mean better services and better outcomes. And obviously, a big part, like with any digitalization, like a third field, is making the back office of government better and more efficient. So whether it's things like trying to basically do routine core operations of government better, all the way to, for example, how Estonia's one of the earliest use cases of AI was using machines to understand from traffic, from internet traffic and from traffic into our government services, where there might be cyber threats coming or cyber basic incidents happening, or whether it's the issues of how even all the way to Sweden they're using now specific AI robots and machines behind do basically more better job interviews, better job placements in public sector, or stuff like how ChatGPT is in everyone's pockets now. Places like Japan, like Yokosuka Prefecture in Japan, or Singapore government the same ways. They're using ChatGPT for research into before policy making, or better speech writing, or even some policy drafting. So the routine background operations of government are being now more automated with the help of digital tools, with the help of AI tools. And the fourth thing, and this is really also an aspect of government, is governance. So how do we basically make decisions, and the process of making decisions? How do we engage citizens for that? There's quite a bit of work being done around the world in terms of citizen sentiment analysis and trying to basically filter out from public consultation what do really citizens want and feel, and what policies they like. But all the way to things like in Estonia, in parliament, they've now used speech recognition techniques to make real-time machine-generated memos or protocols of the government parliament meetings available, which means that you have more transparency, more real-time immediate transparency, and done more efficiently. This used to be done by humans, so even a few years ago, you still had people typing up the meeting minutes in as the meetings went by. Now machines take care of that. So you have better governance exactly through making stuff more visible, more transparent immediately. So AI means, better services, better administration, better decisions, better governance. And I mean, basically, we're talking about here through use cases, the same sort of values that we see of AI in the private sector. That's the sort of technical terms. It means that AI can help to optimize things and detect and get new insights. It can mean more precise and personalized services, like the case of inspections. It can help to predict more outcomes and possibly automate things. It's the same things that people talk about as value of AI apply in public sector, the same perfectly as well, with many low-hanging fruits. And if I were to sum up, what does AI mean in government? It means still like everywhere. It means that governments, people in government, can be left to do smarter things that are more value. All the standard routine stuff of government, the bureaucracy, the both back and front and whatever, machines can take more and more care of this by the advancement of AI. And that's amazing because nobody wants to do meaningless things and stuff that, in a way becomes routine. People will be still engaged and augmented by AI, but fundamentally doing a better job in the whole of government. Now, how do we unlock all of this? I mean, these are just practical use cases of actual, proven use cases. How to start if you want to be really use AI in government? Here I can really tell the Estonian story. We started from scratch. So even though Estonia had been on digital path as a government for quite a long time, we started from scratch in a sense that 2017, when I also became government CIO, when I came to the office, we didn't have any applications out there, but AI was already in our pockets, right? The tech was taking off in the world. So we quickly started getting our act together. We got the first national strategy together, and that really said two things. Let's get the ball rolling, and let's have government as a lead user, which means that if you wanted to unlock AI in the whole of Estonian economy, well, government can lead the way and really just, get the ball rolling, because, government was more advanced than a lot of private sector anyway in anything digital. And so we started looking into, okay, so what does that mean? For example, and this is really a bit of lessons learned I'm talking about here now. We started to be very practical. We said, hey, look, let's not talk about like do flashy stuff that's, stuff for the lab, so to speak. Let's focus on concrete practical value we might get from even the simplest narrow uses of AI. So things like exactly how do we have better inspections, or even chatbot for crisis communication, things like that. And we clearly saw that we don't need to talk about, let's say, advanced data science or advanced rocket science in that sense. There's many concrete uses of even today's state of AI where government become more productive, effective, and better like that. So, and this being practical, this meant that we were able to get the ball rolling in many fields. We didn't just choose like a flagship field saying, I don't know, we're going to do AI in health. No, we said we're going to do AI in everywhere. And that meant that we had to do a lot of work on skilling and supporting the agencies, even starting from evangelism and bringing the topic and awareness to them. And through that, then working with them to really make sure that they get the ideas going, that they figure out what sort of problems AI can help with, and they start testing and experimenting. A lot of it was to really make sure that they start trying things out. But to help in this, there's a few things that were sort of centrally done that helped to accelerate this learning and experimentation. And we already knew this in Estonia before. Platforms accelerate you. Platforms like X-Road, National Identity, things that are common needs for digital applications across the whole government. So in AI, we thought the same thing. When we start, let's start building the use cases out so that we can reuse the things built. So if we build a chatbot here, if we build like a translation engine, if we build like a voice recognition or an image recognition thing, let's build it in a way that we can reuse these modules, these core modules elsewhere. So for example, the next agency that wants to do chatbot can just take what has been built before, retrain with their data, and be faster and better live. And so we built up these core components for reuse, several of them. One of the first ones really was about textual recognition and reapplied many, many times through different sectors and government. So platforms and platform way really boosted the journey. Another thing that boosted us was to say that, hey, look, there's no way we're going to be like AI specialists in government. Let's be open to partnerships. Again, like Estonia has been through our digital journey. So let's take startups in. We figured out a way to basically legally work with startups who offer their products for us to use. Let's be open to the global. So we worked for likes of Microsoft and others to basically use their advanced technologies in our government and be a test bed for them. So the whole idea was to say that, and even in the training and skilling, we immediately got private sector experts involved. So the whole point was to say that let's use what we have there to speed up the learning curve. And it really worked like that. And all the way to this led to, for example, the Estonian testbed campaign, where we invited companies and startups from around the world to come and try their stuff out on Estonian digital government. And the very last thing, obviously, AI starts from data. Without data, there's no models, there's no training, and so forth. There's no value of AI, no benefits from AI. So in Estonia, we had quite a bit of data from the years of building up a digital government, but we quickly learned that we had to get the data into good quality and order. We had to restart our focus and efforts on data governance. So cleaning up the data, putting the data house in order became like a reinvigorated effort in Estonia. From all of this, clearly, Estonia was boosted by having a digital government that was mature. So in a way, AI was like a next evolution of that. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, we now work with some of the governments in Africa and so forth, where, again, to reap the low-hanging fruits, you can really start from scratch completely. What does it take in that sense? Well, just start. I mean, the whole of Estonian journey has been about saying, hey, let's try things out. Let's experiment and see what works. And that's the thing with AI. It's not, it might scare, it might be complicated. I mean, you have to take into account ethical issues, yes, but only starting takes you to this value and unlocks the potential of AI for you. And it is exactly because of this thing that leadership makes a difference. So if we were to distill it all up, yes, leadership means that, are you willing to take a bit of risk? Are you willing to push your agencies to start? Are you willing to invest into skilling? If that leadership is there, then great things with AI can happen in government or beyond. Now, from all of this, if I were to sum up what at least I would say is the great potential of AI in government, well, the future of it means that there's no end, the sky is the limit, so to speak. I mean, what I would clearly see is that governments will have to become AI powered, because otherwise they'll lose out on the benefits of not having good enough services, of not making good enough decisions, not having good enough governance or administration. The future government has to be AI powered if it wants to be the best possible government. That's one thing. Secondly, the future, and this is where a lot we decided to bank on Estonia, and I think this is really the cornerstone of Estonian strategy forward now. AI powered means that not only exactly is AI used in all parts of government and part services, but AI really becomes even the interface for the government. And this is where the vision of bureaucrat comes in, and I will end with this. It means that we really believed in Estonia, and the government here is building it out now, that AI-powered virtual assistants will be the gateway to getting things done with the government. So AI can radically improve the interaction people have with the government. As opposed to finding the next website or app, just a smart assistant like a Siri or whatever you have in your phone, in your fridge, in your car, that can be the interface to getting things done. So for example, if your passport's about to expire, your phone prompts you like, hey, Siim, your passport's expiring. Do you want me to get you a new one? You just say with your voice, yes, and things happen in the back end. It's no easy thing. There's a lot of work to be done on that. In Estonia, we really started it as an experimentation program. For example, how to make it Estonian language based, how to have the interoperability of AI that, between different bots in the background. But fundamentally, that sort of radical simplification of how to use services is what we can unlock with AI. And I think people everywhere in the world deserve this. They deserve the least possible hassle of getting things done with the government. And if I can do it proactively, naturally, so just by speaking to my government literally and so forth, that's the best government possible. So with that, I end here. Future ready digital governments will be AI powered. Thank you.